onto the grid. You're ready for this?
Without doubt, the best place for overtaking.
What an incredible weekend.
We've seen history made.
Disaster for him and his teammates.
This is a game changer.
It's a crucial race.
Pretty feisty stuff. I enjoyed that.
History in the making.
I'm out! Crash! Somebody hit me!
P3 Checo, well done.
Took quite a while, huh?
Welcome to Sochi, to the shores of the Black Sea. We're in amongst the Olympic Park at the Sochi Autodrome for round 16 of the Formula One World Championship. Blue skies greeted us today, a fabulous sight here in Russia. And welcome to the Paddock here at the Sochi Autodrome. As Ted and Crofty join me, September this time, we've been here in October, we've been here in April, we're back again.
We are, and it feels strange. Hello, Rachel. Hello, everybody. Hello, Crofty. Yeah, it feels strange, doesn't it, being suddenly back in Europe, because we're kind of mentally in the middle of a Asian flyaway leg, having been Singapore last time out and Japan next time before we go to the American leg of Austin and Mexico. But we are indeed back in Europe. I understand this side of the Ural Mountains is Europe. Vladivostok is not. St. Petersburg is, so we are back in Europe. But I'm feeling quite sporty, aren't you? I think this is a sporty place. Just over the road was the Fish Stadium, where Russia lost to Croatia in the World Cup. I quite like the World Cup. Watch that. It's good.
I'm glad he's feeling sporty, because I thought I'd come on holiday with my geography teacher there for a minute, which was not a very pleasant thought at all. We are in the land of Mercedes. This is Mercedes dominance. For 104 years, Mercedes have ruled when it comes to Russian Grand Prix.
I read that as well.
You can go all the way back to when it wasn't a World Championship Grand Prix.
Or whatever.
Absolutely.
14.
But this year, I sense something in the water, Rachel. I sense a changing of the guards.
Well, that'll be interesting because, let's face it, plenty to talk about tonight, including this, a very, very dominant Lewis Hamilton last time out in Singapore. It was a classic Lewis Hamilton weekend, dominating qualifying, dominating the race. A huge weekend for Lewis, and coming here with a 40-point lead in the championship, which isn't to be sniffed at.
Yeah, well, to continue my sporting metaphor, he comes here on a hat-trick, doesn't he?
He does indeed.
Is that
come
cricket?
here on a hat-trick.
No,
or football.
Or football.
It could be any sport.
And he hasn't actually done that so far this season, has he? He hasn't converted a hat-trick.
Hold that thought for one more moment, because also this week we had another driver announcement. The grid isn't complete for next year yet, but it's almost there, because we heard that Antonio Giovinazzi will be driving at Sauber next year alongside Kimi Räikkönen, which means Marcus Ericsson takes a step aside, a step down. He'll be an ambassador for the team and a third driver for them. But Giovinazzi will be in the paddock full-time for 2019 as well. Right, let's talk then. Let's talk about Lewis.
Yes.
Let's talk about Lewis Hamilton coming here this weekend in fantastic form. Simon spoke to him a little earlier. Let's hear from him first and then discuss. This is Lewis earlier today.
You appear to be in control of the championship, 40 points ahead of your main challenger. Do you feel you've now got one hand on the trophy, your fifth?
I don't think you ever have one hand on it. You either have both hands on it or you don't. So, same as the last race when I mentioned just taking it one race at a time, and we're just still a long race. It's not a long way to go. There's still a lot of points available. 6 races is still a lot of races. It's a bloody long season. But we really just head down, just trying. Everyone's working incredibly hard to continue to improve the car, and we're going to be faced with different challenges as we come to these different races. So the job is still exactly the same, the target is still exactly the same, and the approach is still exactly the same.
Interesting, isn't it? Because last time out in Singapore, the weekend started with Lewis being asked questions about how much he travelled between races, about his lifestyle, about his fashion brand. Is it a distraction? He turns up, puts in the performance on Saturday, puts in the performance on Sunday, and shuts everyone up all over again.
Well, we said it in Singapore. Whatever he's doing as a build-up, it's working for him. He has his approach, it frees his mind from any stresses and strains that might be contributing to bad performances. He's able to take his mind off the racing enough in between the races to then come and produce performances like he did in Singapore. That pole position, Paul di Resta said it at the time, a championship-winning pole, and it is a championship-winning pole because it allowed him in what wasn't the dominant car still to dictate the race in the way that he wanted. Now that might be harder to do this weekend because you have more of a chance of overtaking here in Sochi, but at Singapore, where track position is king, Lewis Hamilton ruled that qualifying and earned himself the right to produce the race that he then did. It was a faultless performance, and look, I think Ferrari have a much better chance this weekend, and I think we're going to see them take the fight to Lewis, but you cannot knock what he is doing or what Mercedes are allowing him to do, because at the moment, as you say, he's 40 points clear and we've only got 6 races to go.
4 wins in the last 5.
Lewis has stepped up and Ferrari have stuttered. I think Ferrari are favourites here, but, you know, we'll see. If Lewis can convert that hat-trick, then he truly does have one hand on the trophy. And something goes back to a question that I asked Lewis, and we'll hear from Sebastian Vettel in a second. Make of what Vettel's demeanour as you will, but I asked Lewis when Vettel was winning everything in the Red Bull, this was years and years ago, I said, if you were in that Red Bull, do you think you would have been beating Sebastian Vettel? And instantly he shot back and said, well, I should certainly hope so. Now, I know they all think that they're the best, don't they? But I wonder whether Hamilton thinks that he's got the measure of Vettel, no matter how quick that Ferrari is.
Well,
but this weekend will tell.
Yes, and interestingly, Vettel's demeanour post the Singapore race, when I spoke to him in the pen, very much told me that he thinks that not only have Mercedes got the better of Singapore there, Lewis has got the better of him right now, but he will always fight back and he will never give up. This was you talking to him a little earlier today. Let's have a listen to what Seb had to say.
Is it the case that all your jokers are kind of used up now, but it is still in your hands? If you win all of the rest of the races and Lewis comes second, I think you win the championship by 2 points. Is that the way you're looking at it? What's the plan from here?
Yeah, I think we have a fair chance. We had races in the past that we should have won, we didn't, and we had others that we won and we shouldn't have. So you never know what happens, but anything is possible. So I mean, I'm not aiming to win all 7 races. First of all, I'm aiming to win here, and then once that's done, we go to the next one and you go to the next one. I don't think it's much point looking 5-6 races ahead. I think you're much better off staying in the moment and focusing on what lies in front of you, and right now that's FP1.
Ted, you were there.
6 races.
Yes, I know. Bless him, he wants another one.
There was someone in the crowd saying 6 races, but he didn't hear.
You were there. What did you make of
it? Well, I think it's interesting picking up at the end of that, and let's focus on the now, and at the moment that's FP1. I think he's figured from Singapore how much that crash against the wall in FP2 hurt him, and that was the beginning of the end of Singapore, wasn't it? Because that led to no clue on what tyres to use during the race, which hurt him in the race itself on the ultra soft. It didn't really work for him going so long on it, and it put him in a negative frame of mind for qualifying. And I think he's figured that out. He has to have a clean session on a Friday.
Saying that, Lewis Hamilton, since the summer break, has only ever won, in terms of sessions that you break down in the weekend, Q3 or the race itself. So it doesn't actually matter what Lewis does or what Seb does in those practice sessions. Hamilton seems to be finding it when it matters the most. But I agree with you, he needs a clean weekend.
I think that's essentially the same point. Lewis is learning from those sessions more than maybe Seb has.
Well, he's not going all out to win when he doesn't need to.
Seb builds up to it, and if that build-up is disrupted, then it doesn't work out for him. Whereas Lewis is able to deliver those, instinctive, fantastic performances in qualifying.
But also, there've been some mistakes, haven't there, in Seb's season? Let's not mess about. There've been some mistakes. There have been things that he will look back on, and we can see those now. I mean, there are moments he'll look back and he will regret and he will wish, because that's going to be where that 40-point deficit's come from. A lot of that 40-point deficit, isn't it? The mistakes that have happened, we'll start here with Baku, but...
Yeah, but look, Baku at the restart, he went for it, it didn't come off. He could have been a hero, he wasn't. He went from a potential first to a fourth in the end. We had the accident, of course, in Germany. We had the qualifying. be it mistakes or not performing to a 100% standard under pressure, it's all happening to Ferrari again. But remember, Ferrari are not a team that have won championships in recent years. Seb is trying to haul that team up to a championship-winning team. Mercedes know what it takes to win championships.
But this is the story of the season so far. What I'm interested in is the story of the next 6 races.
That will tell an awful lot. He's got to start winning this weekend. Of course, Seb's had Kimi in his team up until now, but we know that Kimi is moving to Sauber next season. Kimi has a new teammate at Sauber, and it's not Marcus Ericsson, because Antonio Giovinazzi will replace him next season at Sauber, and Marcus Ericsson will be an ambassador and be a third driver for the team. Let's hear from him earlier today.
So hang on, what's this? No more Swedish ace, no more blue and yellow helmet next year. What's going on?
Yeah, it's disappointing, isn't it? But that's the sport, isn't it?
Well, I don't know. Could they not have kept you alongside Kimi?
Apparently not. Unfortunately, no.
Okay. But you've got links with the team. I thought. Anyway.
Yeah, it's not my decisions, obviously.
Yeah. Okay. And did you look around other drives, the Toro Rosso, the Williams, or did they, because they offered you an ambassador and a test drive role, and you took it?
Yeah, I think my management has been looking around a bit, but in the end it was quite clear that this was the best for my future, to stay with the team and keep the relationship with the team. And you know, hopefully in the future there is chances for me to come back. So yeah, that was what we felt was the best move for me.
If I ever get bad news, I'm not speaking to you as the first person afterwards.
No. Was there a mark on his back where you dug that knife in even more?
The reason I said hang on is because, do you remember when Peter Sauber sold the team? He sold it to Finn Rousing, the Tetra Pak billionaire, you know, the one who makes the stuff that you keep your apple juice in off the supermarkets,
we all assumed
right?
he'd be safe
and he is
because of that.
Swedish, that's right. Finn Rousing is Swedish, and he has supported the career of Marcus Ericsson. So the assumption has been these last few years that Ericsson has always been rock solid safe at Sauber. Not the case now. Rousing has decided to back Kimi Räikkönen as his choice, and Alfa Romeo, who have a choice, have chosen Giovinazzi.
Crofty, Antonio Giovinazzi, how are you going to be pronouncing it this next season? And secondly, what do you make of the move?
Antonio Giovinazzi, that's how you pronounce it. I checked with the man himself. When we saw him racing last year, he showed signs in Australia as a really young rookie thrown at the deep end that he had some talent and some exceptional talent. The races sadly didn't back that up. 2 DNFs is a bit of a blot against his copybook, but he comes back now, older, wiser, maybe a little bit more mature. With Kimi Räikkönen as a teammate, the pressure off a little bit as well. So if you get beaten by Kimi as a rookie, come on, it's Kimi, it's a world champion. I'm excited to see him, and I'm excited as well that another youngster fills a seat in Formula One. We've got a lot of young drivers on the grid next year, which is just fantastic. The old guard still sticking around, not Fernando, but Kimi, but bring on the youth and let's see some entertainment from them.
First Italian driver in F1 since Trillian Liuzzi.
Absolutely.
Lovely, long, lustrous hair, and I'll still be
nice.
calling him Giovinazzi because it just sounds better.
We're English.
Tony Giovinazzi.
All right, plenty more still to cover from these two, plus including, actually, we're going to let you know about a driver announcement that could be happening over this weekend. Another one for you here in Russia as we sit in the Olympic Park here in Sochi. We'll be back in a moment.
Precision engineering. Gillette sponsors Sky Sports F1.
Hello, Michael. You look concerned.
I am. Your warranty's run out.
Don't worry, Michael. I've been smart and extended my warranty with MotorEasy.
You did?
Yes, with MotorEasy's extended warranties, there'll be no unexpected garage bills or hassle. We're even covered for failures due to wear and tear, and they'll pick me up from home or work, all from just £20 a month.
If you got much smarter, you won't need me anymore.
It had crossed my mind, Michael. Discover the smart way to warranty your car at MotorEasy.com.
CLC World is hot. CLC World is cold. CLC World is green and blue. CLC World is loud and shh. CLC World is your passport to over 3,000 resorts and hotels. And how much does it cost? Go to clcworld.tv. You won't believe what you CLC.
This is Hold the World, a marvelous interactive virtual reality experience. Welcome to London's Natural History Museum. Hold ancient fossils and rare objects in your hands and then watch them come alive. Hold the World, available on the Sky VR app.
And welcome back, yes, to the shores of the Black Sea. Sunshine forecast for the rest of the weekend here in Sochi for the Russian Grand Prix this weekend. You're frowning at me. Has your forecast said different?
No, I was just suddenly thinking of the Russian national anthem, which is one of the best ones we get to.
Because which they sing in karaoke bars here, which we find
I look forward to it basically because I like The Hunt for Red October, and this place just misses Sam Neill, Tim Curry, and Sean Connery on the top of the submarine.
Maybe they'll pop out those big Russian dolls on the grid that we always get.
The babushka dolls.
The babushka dolls, awesome. Right, let's move on very quickly. Let's talk about last time out in Singapore, because there was an incident on the first lap. Turn 2 between Esteban Ocon and Sergio Perez. We've seen this before from these two. It happened in Singapore. It meant that Esteban was out of the race, but it was a scrappy race in total for Sergio Perez. Ted, your thoughts at the time?
At the time, I just thought it was a shame because there were points going begging, and Force India didn't get them. But I do hope they aren't banned from racing each other once again, because while that was very productive in terms of points last season, it wasn't much fun for us watching. But strangely, they seem not to have had that conversation.
Well, let's find out. You spoke to them, didn't you? You spoke to both of them earlier. Let's have a listen to what they had to say.
As you understand it, are we back to last season's no racing rule?
I don't know. I didn't speak with Otmar really at the moment, so I think he will probably come to speak to us if there is a change, but I don't think it will change much from before anyway.
Sorry, I don't. It won't change much from what?
The way of racing we do. I mean, the way we race in the race. You know, I don't think it will change much the approach, even if we change the rules, because it's so hard to overtake with equal cars. So. We'll see.
As far as you know, you and Esteban are free to race still, or the team have kind of said no?
As far as I know, we're free to race.
And what was going on? A lot of people have criticised you, I think, for the move on Sergei. Maybe you can explain what was going on there?
Yeah. First of all, I put the hand up. I think it was my mistake. I misjudged it. With these mirrors, all year long, we've been complaining about that we cannot see well. So I basically lost the reference to him, where he was exactly, and I tried to close it down too early, the door too early, because I was trying to have the corner, but he was just too close to me, but that was all my mistake. Nothing to say really, other than apologize to Sergio for that.
People don't know the cockpit sides are very high, and you're looking there, you can't really see someone.
Yeah, we really, I mean, we've been saying, to Charlie all year long to try to change the mirrors. I think for next year they're changing. We have very wide tires, very big cockpit, so it's very hard to see well.
Free to race.
That's why he drove into it.
Damn pesky mirrors.
Free to race, Crofty.
They're not free to race. They won't be free to race at all. Otmar, the man Esteban was referring to there, Otmar Safnauer, the team principal, will be speaking to both drivers. I haven't seen him in the paddock yet. I know that the conversation hasn't happened back at the factory, but they will be both told, you are not free to race. You will be under rules of engagement, and it will go back to how it was last season. But don't be disheartened back at home if you want to see more Force India first lap action, because their rules of engagement do not cover the first lap. You can't stop drivers racing on the first lap. It's too chaotic. So they can still repeat incidents like Singapore again. What Sergio did wrong in terms of the rules of engagement with the team, as far as I understand it, whether he could see or not, he didn't leave enough space for a driver that may have been going round the outside. So his mistake, and him going against their rules of engagement anyway. You've got to leave space, and he didn't do that, obviously, because Esteban went into the wall. But they will not be, after lap 1, racing each other for the rest of the season. Force India might have Lawrence Stroll as their new owner, but they still don't want to be throwing money away.
Ted, just a word on that. You say, leave enough room around the outside there, but was that an optimistic move from Esteban at the same time on lap 1 in all that melee?
Well, the stewards didn't seem to think that the opening clash with Ocon was anything to be concerned about. What they gave him, Sergio, a penalty for was the incident with Sorokin, which I think was a bit more out of order in terms of, you know, well, you gave me so much trouble, I've got past you, I'm going to drive into you to make sure that I teach you a lesson.
And he blamed the mirrors on that one as well, Ted.
So I think that was the one exactly. Yeah,
he said mirrors on that, he couldn't see him.
Bit more problematic, but he got a penalty and then he accepted it.
OK, well, 2 other teammates who've crashed into each other in the past. I mean, we only have to go to back to Baku for this one. But we're hoping they stay away from each other. They will, however, be lining up together on the grid on Sunday. We know that in advance because there are penalties coming for these two. It's Max Verstappen and Daniel Ricciardo at Red Bull. Let's hear from them now.
Can you just explain why you're going back to the B-spec and the difference between that and the engine you've been running the last few events?
Yeah, so the C-spec cannot run at high altitude because, it's basically not allowed for Renault to run it there. So yeah, we always knew that once we took on the C-spec, at one point we had to take a B-spec again to finish the end of the season. So I think then here in Russia, that's the best place to do it.
And I guess it's going to be where you're starting a weekend where you're going to have to go on the attack on Sunday. So in a way, you're looking forward to that. And how do you kind of see how this sets you up for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I mean, we just tried to go back to 5th and 6th, I think, as a team. I think that would be, of course, a good result for us. And even, here on this track, we're anyway not that competitive against Mercedes and Ferrari. So we'll just try to make the best of it.
And what's the situation with engine penalties? It's all about getting the car tip-top for a race you can win, which is...
I guess any other one than Sochi, by the sounds of it. So, yeah, I mean, historically it hasn't been a strong circuit for us, and Suzuka, both cars on the podium there last year, and so even just looking at these 2 weeks, Suzuka looks better for us. So I guess it's, from one hand, it's like, let's not put ourselves in a risky situation on a weekend where we could potentially fight for podium or whatever. So I guess Sochi's like, well, let's take it now, and then we'll be sweet for the rest of the year, and we've got now some engines in the pool to kind of go back and forth with.
I spoke to Max earlier. He's looking forward to actually getting through the field, as it were. Am I alone in licking my lips at the prospect of those two being at the back of the field and making their way through?
At this circuit, I think you are, yes, because then it's an engine track and they haven't got a great engine. Suzuka, they'll be better, and Mexico especially, where the altitude means that their engine deficit is less important. That's the race they think they can win.
Hang on a minute.
As indeed Verstappen won there last year.
Hang on a minute. No, you're not. Very quickly, because Max Verstappen's targeting 5th.
Fantastic. All right, great, thanks.
I'm going to disagree with him then.
I love it when you two argue.
It's not exactly.
Well, I'll lick my lips at that.
It is from the back of the field. That's a fun race to watch him doing that.
That would be 14 more overtakes than we had last year, Rachel.
We'll carry on with the homeboy, because it's a home race for Sergei Sorokin this weekend. And, well, let's hear from him first when you went to spoke to him. I hope you weren't mean to him as well.
You've even got a stand named after you here, a grandstand.
Yes, I saw it. It looks good, no?
Good.
Yeah.
And how much is the attention acting as a motivation, and how much can it be distracting?
There's a lot of attention. Honestly, for sure, well know that it does give you a bit more stress. It does give you a bit more, or a lot less free time. You're always much more busy. So, for sure, in terms of the preparation and so on, for sure, it does disturb me a bit. But at the same time, I did get quite a surprising amount of the attention and support from the people. So I just try to kind of find a way to enjoy it, try to get their energy and use it myself to to deliver with my work. So I mean, for sure it's not easy. It's a lot of activities happening, but I mean, I just try to manage it as good as I can, really.
Busy weekend
he was the
for
busiest man in
Sergei.
the paddock today.
And he was yesterday, because we sent him to de-stress with Johnny, and they went to a Russian spa, which you have to see this weekend because it looks brilliant.
Yes.
Sergei Sorokin around here, Williams seem really happy with the way his feedback's improved and the way he works and is in amongst the team. The team like him. Yeah, but they're pretty level between him and Stroll, aren't they? Neither is kind of thrashing each other in terms of performances on track. So I think they're getting the best out of a bad job. And also,
Sorokin leads the head-to-head in qualifying. Stroll's got more points.
And Crofty is not going to be the only Russian on the grid. There may be second stand here next year, because we're hearing there'll be an announcement that Danny Kvyat's back this weekend.
Coming back for a third go?
With Toro Rosso.
Well, Red Bull are running out of options in terms of Red Bull drivers. I want to see Danny Kvyat back, but I want to see the Danny Kvyat that we first saw in Formula One. The happy Kvyat that we know has got talent, we know has got ability, we know he's going to go out there and give it everything.
And the team always said he was fast as well.
He is fast, but his head was so far down. I'm amazed he could actually see on the straights because his head was down on his chin all the time. I want to see the return of the Danny Kvyat we know and love, and if we get that, brilliant.
Well, he's got a second or third or whatever you want to call it chance to do that next year. So we're waiting for that announcement from Toro Rosso this weekend. Just finally, let's hear from the man who won here last year, because Valtteri Bottas seemed a little bit down after the race in Singapore, but this track's been good for him. So let's see how he was feeling coming into the weekend.
Best chance of a win so far this year?
Well, we'll see on Sunday. You know, you never know what's going to happen in the race, but if we look at statistics and how I feel I've been performing on different tracks, this is one of the normally the good ones for me. But you know, every year cars change, tires change. You always need to adapt to the new setup philosophy of the car, etc. But so far there's been no race here that I've really struggled. I've been always able to find the flow here, which can be tricky. So that's going to be my goal for this weekend, and only one target really for the weekend.
Yeah. Competition is tough. This has always been a power track, very power sensitive, but it's not at all sure that Mercedes is the top of that particular table. In fact, it's only Ferrari making mistakes the last couple of races, which has meant they haven't won, you could argue.
Yeah, they do have a really strong package, and I think they're quicker than us on the straights now, so I think it's going to be a tough weekend, but we know that I think at every race now, you know, including Singapore, we can fight for the win, so that is good to know. But it's going to be a lot up to us. If we get everything right, then it's possible. If not, then they're better.
Needs a big confidence booster this weekend, doesn't he? And it's a good time for this track to come for him, I imagine.
Yeah, I'm not sure he's going to get it though. If a Mercedes is going to win, I think it's going to be Hamilton. But I don't know. I'm going to go to Ferrari. Hamilton hasn't managed to win 3 races on the bounce so far this year. I don't think he's going to go manage it here for whatever reason. I think Ferrari will probably take it easy. Sebastian's learned his lesson. Ferrari have learned their lesson. I'm going for Ferrari with Vettel for the win. Just a couple of other things. Carlos Sainz has got an eye infection.
He has. We saw him this morning, bless him.
Yeah, hope he's going to be better. It shouldn't affect him. And Esteban Ocon, about his future, he admitted today that he visited Williams for talks with Claire Williams last week before coming into this race.
We're going to start a campaign. Give Esteban Ocon a seat. Somebody somewhere. He needs to be on the grid
Come and
next
have
year.
this seat.
I wouldn't mind either, actually, if he did that. See ya.
For the win, Valtteri Bottas there. We've got to keep getting it right. If we don't, then Ferrari will win. Ferrari can't keep getting it just a little bit wrong. They're going to get it right eventually. I'm going to go with Sebastian Vettel for this week. I really think Ferrari, on power, have the advantage. They've got to get it right eventually, and I think Hamilton will settle for second place here.
You think Hamilton be second to Sebastian? I'm going to go against both of you then, and I'm going to say Kimi Räikkönen for the win, because I'm just desperate to see him win one before he leaves Ferrari.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? And what are we to make of the Räikkönen Giovinazzi at Sauber? Do we think that Giovinazzi? I know we touched on it earlier, but I'm interested to revisit it. Giovinazzi fell out of favour when he made those 2 terrible accidents, 2 crashes, a couple of years ago, wasn't it? When he was
spun on the straight in China,
deputising for Pascal Wehrlein, who himself might come back to Toro Rosso next year. But those accidents have haunted him since then. It's only now that it's been sort of effectively cleaned off his record.
So does he need someone like Kimi to put a mentoring arm around him and say, right, this is how you do it, just learn from me? Is this the new, freed from his Ferrari constraints, Kimi Räikkönen that we're going to see? We see him on Instagram now, we see him walking around with his family looking happy. Is he going to be a bit of a mentoring figure for Giovinazzi? I don't think Ferrari have anyone better in their stable to do that for him.
A couple of other things. McLaren, Stoffel Van Dorn, still feeling like he's just trying to find a drive next year. Fernando Alonso is probably going to take an engine penalty as well. Just to mark your card on that one. And how do you relax? If you're Fernando Alonso, you've got 5 straight race weekends coming up, starting from here and then Japan next weekend,
Fuji,
and with WEC.
Yep.
He practiced, got some rest last Sunday by doing a 6-hour marathon kartathon race.
Should have gone for a spa with Johnny Herbert.
Oh, well, you can see that
That's
this weekend. I tell you what, have a look at this. This is where we are this weekend, where you can find us. So we begin with practice tomorrow morning. First practice from 8:45 a.m. Second practice from 12:45 in the afternoon. Saturday looks like this. We begin with final practice from 9:45 in the morning. The qualifying gets underway from 12. The F1 show, 2:35 from the paddock here in Sochi. And on Sunday, your race day begins from 10:30 in the morning. Join us for the Russian Grand Prix on Sky F1. Right, we'll see you tomorrow morning for first practice.
Can't wait.
Bye for now.
Sky Sports F1. Feel it all.